Shalom, Ko Israel. This is Rahab Pethuel bin Yaakov, and I'm at work right now, taking the break, just at the park here, and it's a little rainy out today, a little misty, but we do Todayah, still able to get some work done. But I just want to share some things with you all. I want to call this a morning devotion. This is my time where most of the time I open up my scriptures and things of that nature and just read, But I want to just review some teachings that I've been doing for the past month on my Sabbath class that I host called True Remnant Ministry Sabbath class. And if you'd like to join us on the Sabbath, we broadcast via Google Hangout and YouTube Live. You can go to our YouTube page, which is True Remnant Ministries, and or you can look on my Facebook timeline, and you'll see most of the time I'll post the link and things of that nature, so those who would like to attend can attend, okay? But for the last month and a half, I've been dealing with topic concerning the elect, who the elect is, all right? And I just want to revisit some scriptures of those of you who may not know or those of you who may know. I just want to just read some scriptures that basically and specifically define who the elect is, not according to men's theology or philosophy, but straight from the scriptures, who the elect is, all right? Basically, if we go to Isaiah chapter 45, let's get there right quick. Isaiah chapter 45, I believe it's verse 4. We got some ducks coming around here. I guess they think they saw my food, so they think they're going to get something to eat. Well, that food's been long gone. They in for a rude awakening. So trying to hear if we get there. Bear with me a few moments. All right. Isaiah chapter 45, I believe it's verse 4. Verse 4, we want to begin reading at verse 4. It says, Jacob is my servant and Israel my elect. Okay, so he specifically says that Jacob is his servant, and the children of Israel is his elect. He said, I have even called thee by thy name, I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. So we have not yada Yah. Israel has not yada Yah. They have not known Yah. They have not recognized Yah. But even though the people of Israel have not recognized and have not acknowledged Yah, Yah still calls Israel his elect. He still calls Israel his people, okay, his chosen one. The word elect in the Hebrew is enunciated bachir in the Hebrew, which means elect, chosen, or the chosen ones. They are the chosen ones, all right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 24, verse 31. Matthew chapter 24, verse 31. I want you to see something that Messiah says here, all right? Messiah says concerning the elect. Matthew chapter 24, verse 31 says this. Hallelujah. And it reads, and he shall send his Melachim or his angels with a great sound of a shofar or trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. All right, and I dealt with this last Shabbat, talking about the dispersion of the elect. All right, so if y'all's going to gather the elect from the four winds of the earth, that means that they have been dispersed or outcast or scattered throughout the nations, okay? One thing I want you to remember this. Okay? That even before and during the time of Messiah, Israel, the 12 tribes, were scattered. They were scattered in neighboring countries, such as Syria, or the land of the Assyrians, also Egypt, and also some Gentile or Greek or European countries as well that neighbored Israel. Even Ethiopia. All right, and we're going to get into that too, because I'm going to deal with that tomorrow. Shabbat tomorrow, we're going to deal with that as well. One verse, and I'll get to that as well. But we see here that Messiah makes reference to the elect being gathered. We talked about Israel being Yah's elect, okay? So when your Messiah comes, he's going to gather together his elect from the four winds of the earth, okay? And that's very important to understand because Israel has been scattered through the four corners or the four winds of the earth. We have tribes that have been scattered throughout the four corners. Then we have other tribes that have been outcast, or they are dwelling in neighboring countries outside of Israel. Then you have some tribes of Israel that were scattered throughout the nations, through the four corners of the earth, all right? And we're going to get into that just a little bit, all right? I want to talk about tomorrow's teaching as well. Okay, so I want to prove the fact that there were Israelites that were scattered during the time of Messiah. Let's go to Yochanan. Yochanan, John chapter 7, verse 33. Yochanan, John chapter 7, verse 33 through verse 31, okay? I want to read this in a haste. John chapter 7, verse 33 through verse 31. Hallelujah. Chapter 7, verse 33 through verse 31, and it reads, Then Yeshua said unto them, Yet a little while I am with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. And you shall seek me, and shall not find me, and where I am, thither you cannot come. And then it says, Then the Yadim, or the word that's used here is Jews. I like to use Israelites. The Israelites among themselves said among themselves, look what they said, Whether will he go? Whether will Messiah go, that we shall not find him? Or so what is he talking about? Where is he going to go that we shall not find him? That's what the Israelites or the Yadim, the Jews, said. He said that we shall not find him. Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach them? What dispersed was he talking about? He was talking about Israelites that were dispersed among Gentiles. All right. We also know that during the time of during the time of Messiah, a lot of people don't know this. During the time of Messiah, Israelites that were dwelling in the land of Israel, dwelling in the lands of Judea or Jerusalem at that time, Israelites were a minority there. They were a minority. They weren't a majority. Israelites were a minority there. There were a lot of Gentiles or Europeans or other nations that had come and settled in those lands because the Israelites had went into various captivities since the time of the splitting of the kingdom of Israel, the tribe of Yehuda being the southern kingdom, and the other 10 tribes being the northern kingdom. During that divide, during that split, there were a lot of captivity. There was a lot of wars that were fought, and a lot of Israelites were scattered through Assyria. They were even scattered even to Egypt at that time as well. And we're going to go through this. I'm going to show you this in the book of Kings, all right? And I'll make that point tomorrow. So you want to tune in tomorrow, and I will show you this, okay? But being that the Gentiles were scattered, the Israelites were scattered among Gentiles even during the time of Messiah, because the Yadim says to themselves when Messiah said, look, I'm here with you a little while, but one day you're going to look for me, I'm going to be gone, and where I am, you cannot go. So the Israelites said to themselves, they said, look, where he's going to go? Is he going to go to the dispersed among the Gentiles? Now, when you look up this word dispersed, in the Greek text here, if you're looking in the Greek text, Greek lexicon, this word is diaspora in the Greek, which specifically means, and it says this in the definition that it gives, it says concretely and specifically Israelites, resident foreigners in Gentile countries. That's what it's talking about. So even during the time of Messiah, Israel was scattered among the Gentiles that were living in Israel and among other countries of the Gentiles as well. All right, let's prove it again. Let's go to Acts. Even during the time of the apostles, when Messiah told the apostles to go to Jerusalem and tarry there until they were endowed with the Ruach HaKodesh. Acts chapter 2, verse 1 to verse 5. I want to read this in the haste. And it says, when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all in one accord in one place. And suddenly there came in a sound from heaven as a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the house where they were sitting. And there appeared upon them cloven tongues of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were filled with the Ruach HaKodesh and began to speak with other tongues as the Ruach gave them utterance, or as the Spirit gave them utterance. And look at verse 5. I want you to notice in verse 5. It says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem. Okay, you got to understand that this is the Feast of Pentecost, or first fruits, or the Feast of Weeks. This is one of the three feasts that Yah says that all males shall appear before him in Jerusalem. So even at that time, even though Israelites were scattered, male Israelites would come up during the time of Passover and Pentecost and Sukkot to Jerusalem out of the neighboring countries and out of the region of Israel to go to Jerusalem to worship Yah based on the commandment that he gave. Okay, so we got to understand what's going on here. Okay, so he says in verse 5, he said, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, or Yadim. Yadim are Israelites, devout men. These men were devout out of what? Every nation under heaven. So out of every nation, there were Israelites that came out. They were dwelling among the Gentiles, among the going. The Hebrew word going means Gentiles or nations or heathen nations. Okay, they were dwelling among other nationalities at that time, even during the time of the apostles, even during the time of Messiah. And there were devout men that came up, Yadim or Israelites, that came up to Jerusalem out of every nation or every country at that time, the countries that were known at that time. Okay, let's go to James chapter 1. James chapter 1. Hallelujah. James chapter 1. Look what James says. This is during the time of the apostles too. James chapter 1, verse 1. Look what he says. He said, Jacob, or James, a servant of Yah and of Messiah Yeshua, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, dispersed. He says, greetings. So he was writing to the 12 tribes that were scattered abroad. They were scattered even during the time of the apostles. If we go to 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 1 and verse 2. All right, and I've been dealing with this scripture a lot, okay? 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 1. Look what Peter says, Kepha. He says, Kepha or Peter, a Shalishim, apostle of Yeshua HaMashiach, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. So he named these specific countries, which were Gentile countries at that time. These were countries basically not in the land of Israel, but on the outskirts of Israel at that time, even some countries further from Israel, all right? He says, to the strangers. Now, there's two words that we need to define here in 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 1, to understand who he is talking to and talking about. The word stranger here means resident foreigner. It is talking about a foreigner, all right? When you look up the word scattered throughout, if you look this word up in your Greek lexicon, even in the Hebrew, scattered throughout, this specific word here, even in the Greek rendition of the New Testament, we didn't even talk about the Aramaic or Hebrew rendition of the New Testament. In the Greek rendition of the New Testament, if you look up the word scattered throughout, it is a Greek word diaspora, which means dispersion or being scattered. It is specifically and concretely talking about Israelites, converted Israelites scattered in Gentile countries. Now look what he says in verse 2. He says the Apostle Peter refers to these Israelites that were scattered in Gentile countries. He refers to them as elect, according to the foreknowledge of Yah, the Father, through the sanctification of the Spirit unto obedience, sprinkling of the blood of Yeshua, the Messiah. He says, Hasid, or grace unto you, and peace be multiplied. All right? So we see here that even during the time of the apostles and Messiah, that Israelites were scattered in neighboring countries. They were outcast or dispersed. All right? Now, this is something that we're going to deal with tomorrow. And this is very interesting. And I want to just share this with you all so you all would be interested in basically hearing this teaching I'm going to be teaching about tomorrow. All right? If we go to the book of Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11. Give me some time to get there. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11. Now, I'm going to show you that even before the time of Messiah, that this is how the Israelites became scattered in neighboring countries. And this is why Yah says that he's going to recover them from these countries. It's a reason why, all right? It's a reason why he says this, all right? Isaiah chapter 11, and I'm getting there. Just bear with me. Chapter 11, verse verse 11, all right? We're going to be dealing with this tomorrow. We're going to be dealing with Isaiah Yeshaya, or Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11. And I'm going to show you why Yah says here in this particular verse, in verse 11 of Isaiah chapter 11, that he's going to recover, all right? He's going to recover the remnant of his people from these countries. Why? Because these countries, the Israelites were scattered in these countries during the time of Messiah, even to this day, all right? It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that Yah shall set his hand again a second time. So Yah going to set his hand a second time to do what? To recover the remnant of his people. When he says the remnant of his people, he is talking about the true Israelites, whom he has scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, all right? And he says he's going to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria. Look what he says: Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, which is Ethiopia, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the isles of the sea. Okay? Now, when you look up this word isles from the sea, I'm just going to give you this little tidbit here. It is talking about the West, which we know as North America, West Africa, the Caribbean islands, and things of that nature. That's considered the Western Hemisphere, all right? And we're getting into more detail with this teaching because we got to understand why Yah says this. And Israelites today are still scattered in these countries today. They're still scattered. And Yah's going to stretch out his hand a second time to recover the remnant of his people from these countries. And the only way to understand that, we have to go back to 1 Kings. We have to go back to the divide of the kingdom of Israel into two kingdoms, which was the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Yehuda or Judah. And with Judah, some of the tribe of Benjamin remained there with him, with some of the Levites with Judah, and the other 10 tribes, which is known as the southern tribes, remained with, I believe his name was Rehoboam. They remain with Rehoboam, all right? So in order to understand that, we got to understand the divide and what happened to those two kingdoms during that time, okay? Judah went into, there was the Egyptians came against them during one point of the divide of Israel. Then they went into Babylon to captivity. And then again, after the Babylonian captivity, Judah went into a captivity with the Medes and the Persians, which basically were offspring of the Assyrians, or Syria, okay? Then we see later on down the line that Alexander the Great, which was the Grecian kingdom, kept Judah in captivity, and also with the Roman captivity as well. With the other 10 tribes, they went into captivity under the Assyrians, all right? They went for a long time under the Assyrians. The Assyrians left some in Israel, and they took some back to Syria with them, okay? So this is how the scattering began to occur. The scattering of them in Assyria, the scattering of them in Egypt, the scattering of them in the lands of Cush, Ethiopia, and so forth and so on, okay? So in order to understand this, to get a better understanding, you need to tune into the broadcast tomorrow. We're going to be dealing with Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11, dealing with why Yah say he's going to recover the remnant of his people from Assyria and from Egypt, so forth and so on. May the Most High bless you. May he keep you. This is Rahab Pathuel ben Yaakov. Tune into our broadcast tomorrow. I will post a link on my Facebook page, on my timeline, or you can visit our YouTube page, which is True Remnant Ministries. True Remnant Ministries, TrueRemnantMinistries. May the Most High bless you. May he keep you. Shalom.